And that report, and more specifically the Sri Lanka one on fuel, takes us to our interactive segment. And you bear me witness that in the country for the last couple of months, the fuel prices have made things crazy in the country, to the point that basic commodities are out of reach for most Kenyans. But the situation is not only being exacerbated by the political landscape we have in the country, the war in Ukraine. They've talked about the war in Ukraine and the recession that is currently underway in so many countries. But to help us shed more light on the Kenyan situation, we have Mohamud Salat, who is the Group CEO of Petroleum. Karibu sana.
Pleasure, thank you.
We have seen in Sri Lanka, the situation is a little bit dire than the situation we have in the country. Looking at the current fuel prices trend, will consumers, according to you, find a reprieve?
And the answer will be yes, but the good question will be when. So what we've seen the last few days is a drop in oil prices, the crude oil prices. Mm-hmm. Definitely we'll enjoy that drop. But unfortunately, I think we have a lag of about a month or two before we realize that significant drop that happened at the crude level. But of course, we can't compare ourselves with Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lanka is a country that has now gone bust. It's not just oil. They are really having a tough time economically. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you're saying the situation could be even worse than what we are experiencing here in Africa, to be specific?
Look, and Ben, honestly speaking, it's been a tough time time period for any country that is not oil producing. We've seen the skyrocketing of energy prices across, and the impact that has across the economy is something that you cannot ignore at any point in time. Mm-hmm. So in our case, what I will say is we had last month when prices have been only increased by 9 shilling only, mm-hmm. because the impact is there's over 40 shilling on diesel and 25 shilling on petrol that the government has given out as subsidy. Mm-hmm. The reality is, if you compare the prices of crude oil in the month of May and June, mm-hmm. There's been a significant jump, mm-hmm. and that jump will now be realized this month when we're doing the next pricing. Mm-hmm. Where I sit, of course, the prices has not yet, has not yet been communicated, but we're expecting up to maybe 50 shilling jump in prices, out of which the government will decide, how much to take subsidy, how much to jump. Mm-hmm. Of course, we are all cognizant it's the last month to election, mm-hmm. So the government will try to be as generous as they can to make sure this month is covered. But it's not been easy, and you are talking about not any other product. You're talking about energy, yeah. Which is an input cost to any other production or service industry. Well,
that could scare a lot of Kenyans. The Treasury has, you've talked about we'll see what the government could give us subsidies, but the Treasury did talk about scrapping the fuel subsidy. Should consumers be worried?
Look, what I will say is consumers will anyway be worried, but if you ask today what is the prices of fuel in Uganda, Kampala right next to us, mm-hmm. Versus Kenya, you will see the difference, and that's simply because the government there does not do subsidy of any case. Mm-hmm. Now, for our country, Kenya, yes, with the expulsion or once they stop providing subsidy, mm-hmm. then it will be a tough time. But what I can say is generally in economics, there is what they call demand destruction. A product prices will reach certain level when it's not sustainable and people will stop consuming that product. Mm-hmm. So we have not reached that time, mm-hmm. but honestly speaking, it's been tough times. We're talking about large economies like the US talking about recession or impeding recession and so on. So it's not easy, but what I can say is over time or ultimately, people will consume a product to the extent they can pay for it.
And it has been largely blamed on the Russia-Ukraine war, but some countries are having it a little bit easier than others. And what is the situation in other countries? Somebody had suggested that oil-producing countries, yes, so as to at least subsidize the prices, they could actually refine the oil themselves and at least have some to balance the equation when it comes to the fuel prices. Is that something that can be explored?
True. The conversation has been a lot to do with the supply versus demand. We've been seeing increasing demand, especially post-COVID, when economies are recovering. And we've seen, the supply side not coming along. But when you talk about oil, there's a lot of other politics beyond it. So today, Venezuela which is the biggest oil deposits in the world, a market like a country like Iran, all this kind of supply are not available to the market. If you go back, reason will be sanctions. So I guess it's time for, globally people sit down and provide solution beyond the Ukraine-Russia war. I think we all appreciate that Russia is one of the key producers of oil. And once you have this kind of molecules out of the market, this kind of imbalance in between the supply and demand is anyway expected. So as you said, yes, the best way to reverse the trend is to increase supply. And increase supply means the existing oil producing nation to increase the amount of output they are bringing out to the market. But equally, economies or markets that are not now available to the rest of the world, like the Venezuelan and Iranian molecule, need to come to the market in some form or shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
And looking at, you even alluded to the fact that the global price is going down. Are we expecting to see that in the third and fourth quarter? And what does it mean for countries like Kenya?
Look, if you look at the analyst or expert discussion around why the prices have dropped now, it goes beyond the increased supply. Of course, there's an element of supply, but equally there is the impending recession and the fears around it, where people are like, this price is not sustainable. So unfortunately, how long will this price drop sustain is the key question, and most of the analysts or experts don't have answers for how long do you enjoy this reduction. But I think as a country, this kind of reduction we have not yet enjoyed because of the lag that we have. So I mentioned to you, the month of May was high, and that's why we had that kind of an impact. We have June, which is even higher than May when you talk about the global setup. So that is why I'm talking about next month or this month pricing will be slightly higher. Then July, when the prices have dropped, is when we'll enjoy that reduction. And in our case, that will be the pricing of August, September.
Now, and also we are in an electioneering period, and of course the economy always gets a hit each and every time we go to the elections. Are we supposed to see, or does it have big impact on the prices now that they're quite down, the energy prices as a whole? And also I noticed that you've also started a power plant or something. Can you kindly explain that and how we are supposed to benefit as Kenyans?
Good. So, historically we are used to a period whenever it is next to election, then we have the fears, especially investors and foreign investors for that matter, and the foreign direct outflow, or the investment outflow, and the impact of the economy. That is what we are used to in most of the time. So in our case this time round, we have, myriad of issues. We have rising energy prices. We are talking about the basic commodities prices also going high, whether it is as an impact of oil or otherwise. We've got reduction or reduced availability of food generally, even as whatever we are known for producing, we have not produced the best as we've known in terms of quantities and volume. So generally we are going to an election with all its uncertainties, but again with a lot of economic uncertainties. And that's why if today you're the next person taking over this country, then you must think outside the box. While these prices have been going up, surprisingly for me, I haven't heard anything about us increasing or fast-tracking our Turkana exploration and so on, just to bring a reprieve to the economy. So whoever takes over must think outside the box and provide solution to an economy that is beaten in almost all angles. Now, coming back to your other question about us, I guess for us, what we are thinking is, what is the consumer thing? And we've seen several electric vehicles in the market. If you are ardent user of these uprights like Bolt and so on, you'll see gas-powered vehicles in the market. So as what we've done is we are now making sure the suppliers, our consumers can get an alternative to oil or fuel for that matter, alongside their fuel consumption. So you will see electric charging ports in our Kasarani station. In our Rongai station, we are talking about autogas, which is filling gas-powered motor vehicle. So we're thinking alongside the consumer's thoughts as far as these challenges are concerned.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mohamud Salat.
Nice having you.
He is the CEO, Group CEO actually, of Hass Petroleum. They are trying to help us understand the fuel dynamics and also the energy itself, because it's not only the fuel that has gone up. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, sir.